Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning. Good to see you. Before we get into your team and a very challenging week one opponent, just talk about how camp has gone for your squad.
It's going great. Only downside right now is that it hasn't been hot enough to get ready for Jackson State. I mean, it's been nice Virginia weather, but we haven't had the 94, 95, 96 degree weather. But besides that, no, it's been great to see our guys. Been here since June, early June, and kind of get that going, and then now through camp and just kind of getting a chance to see those guys mature and develop and come together, and been working hard, and we got a good mixture of old, young, and new, and so just excited about this upcoming season and what this first game will do for us.
I know you got some new faces on the field, but year two for you and your staff as the head coach, how has it been different? Has it been easier with their familiarity with you and you with them?
Yeah, I think, again, with the bulk of our staff that's back, and then a good mixture of guys that were here. And then I think, too, with the freshmen, because we were able to connect with those guys in this recruiting process. So you already have a rapport with those guys. And so that to have the guys that were back, the freshmen that you've been recruiting over a while, and then to have the guys that transferred in, a good portion of these guys, we kind of knew who they were prior to. So it's been a little more smoother transition this year than this time last year.
Let's talk about your team a little bit, and let's start on the offense. And obviously, when we talk about offense, it goes to quarterback right out of the gate, and you've got a pretty. You mentioned during media day you had a pretty good competition going on. How has that gone? And have you decided on the starter?
It's going well. I think two of them have emerged as the two front runners going in. We kind of talked about that today as a staff. Just a couple more things we want to look at. We'll probably make our decision, for Tuesday's practice, but won't really publicly announce it until Saturday.
Obviously, we had Jake on Snipes on with us at media day, and it's got to be nice to have him back. But along with him, who are some of the other guys on offense that have caught your eye and expecting big years from?
I think if you stay at the running back position, Donovan Shep, who was kind of that fourth running back for us last year, third when some guys went down. I think those two guys have really stepped in and stepped up this summer. We have some young running backs that I think are going to be some players for us, but those two guys have really kind of took those guys under their wings and have done well. Of wide receiver wise, we have a great core of guys that played last year. Got some transfers that come in that I think is going to really upgrade that position even more with Maxwell Moss and Jashawn Johnson. Will really bring that group up. But we've also had some guys like J.J. Wimberly that played for us last year, Isaiah Smith that played for us last year. So those guys alone. And then we had some guys that were kind of, last year's scout team wide receiver guys that have really done some great things over the winter and this summer. So that core group is really something. And then, up front, you have Amari Allen that's back, that's played every position except center, at the O-line position. We've got some guys, again, that had played for us last year that are now going to get a start. And, we've got some transfers that have come in that's going to give us some great depth and some starting time out of some of these guys that really going to bring our O-line group, in a position that they can really help us this year. And then at tight end, you got two guys back with TK and Greenlaw. So you got two veteran tight ends, and we got some young guys, but those two guys both played a lot of football last year, so it's great to have both of those guys back.
Let's flip over and talk about the defense. You got a few holes to fill on that side, but you also have some guys who played some pretty good snaps for you. So who's looked good on that side?
Yeah, I mean, again, we're always on that secondary with Will Hicks and Cam. Those two guys are elite football players, and they're going to be leaders. At the cornerback position, we'll be new. I would say we won't be so much young, but we'll be new. We have some transfers that came in. Anthony Hightower, Juju Ganther, but Juju was already here a year ago. Tariq Council. So we've got some guys that are going to be new at that position, but played a lot of football for us. At the linebacker position, you've got Michael Canty, who was a freshman for us last year that came on strong, that's having a great camp. And then, we've got some new guys there with Harold O'Neal and Andre Phillips that have transferred in that are going to really help that position. I think our biggest question mark is going to be up front, but at the same time we've got a lot of depth at that position. We'll probably overplay 6 or 7 DNs. We'll probably play 5 or 6 D tackles. Guys that have played at other places, guys that were here in the past. But if I'm going to talk about our defense, our secondary is probably lights out, special, and expecting big things out of them.
Let's talk about your game Saturday. You're facing a really quality opponent, Jackson State, preseason SWAC favorite, nationally ranked team. What are some of the biggest challenges they present for you when you start to study them?
They're up. If I look at their defense, up front, they're big and strong. They're knock you around. They play physical. I know in the secondary they'll have some new faces in the secondary, but up front, they're guys that you're going to have to know where they're at and make sure that we do a good job. Their nose guard is top notch. He's got every accolade that you can possibly get. Offensively, they went out and they already were skillful at the skill positions. They went out and got even better skilled guys, more skilled guys, and so they have the ability to run it and throw it. So we'll have our hands full as far as their passing game, and they're just well coached football team. They're going to go out there and they're going to play for 60 minutes. When you watch their film, that's what you see. They play for 60 minutes, and so you're going to have to be ready to play, all day and make sure you're getting after it, because they're gonna test you on every phase of the game, and we got to match that enthusiasm and be ready to play.
Before I let you go, what's the biggest thing knowing the you're headed on the road and playing that kind of quality opponent? What's the biggest thing you want to see from your guys on Saturday?
The fight, to know that we're playing a team that's coming off a championship, and they're hungry to get back, and so you're playing in the front of 60,000, and it's going to be a hostile environment, but just see us play together, make less mistakes than they do, and and have the opportunity to, when we can execute, make sure we execute.
Got one question for you before I let you go from Trevin Gray. Go ahead, Trevin.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Good to hear from you again. Just had a couple quick things I wanted to touch on, just following up from what you were saying there. First, about the quarterback competition. If you're at liberty to say, I'm curious of who the 2 front runners you were saying were, and what are they bringing to the table that makes them front runners for you?
The ability to grasp this offense. Again, the thing that we talked about all camp is, I don't need a hero quarterback. I need somebody that can manage this offense, and I think that the 2 guys right now that are leading this thing have shown that hey, if the guy is open in front of you, getting the ball, let him make the play. There's to understand, schemes and what we're trying to accomplish when we call this play, and then just their football, some that you're looking for. That hey, sometimes you got to be able to make plays off script, and they've shown that they can do those kind of things.
And one more thing, overall, what do you want to see from, I guess, your team to set the tone for this opener, especially given how the last few games of last season went awry for you guys?
Go out there, and understand we got to play together. All three phases. And again, I know some of this may be cliche talk, but again, when you play in that first game and you're playing on the road, all three phases has to be clicking. You don't want to shortchange the other one by not performing. So all three have to click. And again, just this live talking about doing hard things together. These games, these early games, you know, you got to be able to weather the storm. There's going to be some hard times that's going to happen in this game. We got to stay together, weather the storm, take the first punch, and be able to say, okay, I took your first punch. Now here comes our punch. So that's the biggest thing for me. What I want to see out of our guys is all our team is, hey, all three phases are going to play together, and then when they throw their punch, to be able to take it and throw our punch back.